Here's how I set up my new Notion agent with custom instructions as a founder and business operator who wants to use AI as more than just an assistant, but wants it to be able to be my advisor and thought partner along the way. So inside my Notion custom instructions, you can see that I start off by saying three specific rules. The first rule is to always follow the founder psychology protocol. This protocol runs during every single conversation. And what it does is pull in my founder psychology. So, behavior loops that AI observes, traits that I have that AI observes, and an evidence log of traits that I have that AI is observing so that it can compare them over time and tell me what my founder psychology is as if it was my advisor that just watched me work and could point out these patterns to me after the fact. So during every conversation, if there is something to pull from it, it will pull it and put it into my founder psychology database. That's how I like to have this set up so that my initial custom agent here is specifically focused on not just helping me do things in my business, but being observant of how I am approaching those things so that I can always be thinking bigger and better about my business and getting that essential third party point of view that I can't normally get by just running my business on my own. The second thing I have here is just instructions for best practices around how to build things out. So inside of your Notion agent here, you can have it build databases, it can build pages, create context, it can do everything that you could have ever done before and better, obviously. So what I have here is just best practices that say don't delete a page unless you ask, don't make changes unless you ask for certain things, etc. And then here I have my personality and voice. I like to have a very specific type of personality, for example, a strategic co-founder and not a support bot. I want it to be very focused on pattern recognition and helping me think better and build better. So I am definitely looking for something that's along the lines of Alex and Layla Hermosi here. And then I put a bunch of just constraints as well. And then down here. So I want you to think of this as a moderator agent, essentially, where it's like this is that moderator agent's main personality, right? It's always looking for patterns. It follows specific instructions of how to make changes, and it has a specific personality around it as well. Here are what I would call sub agents. And these sub agents have a more specific workflow of how they are to do certain things. So my advisor sub agent here, this is entirely focused on helping me think better about my business by using proven things. So, for example, I have proven frameworks that I have it pull depending on what's going on in the business and what I need help thinking with. I have strategic prompts. These are just prompts that the AI, the Notion AI down here, is instructed to go through very specific instructions in order to go through that curated conversation. And these are based on books, YouTube videos I watched, just generally proven business advice that I want to think through. And I want to make sure that I'm curating a specific conversation with AI in this case, not relying on it to be the one handling how the conversation should go. This is something new I'm building out is Idea Box. So because AI, you can just tell it, hey, add this idea to the idea box. What I want to start building out is just this running list of ideas I have, but I don't want to take action on yet, so that AI can pull those in the future when we have relevant context. And then down here, or I'll show you we have the founder psychology protocol, which is looking for behavior loops. It's looking through all of these things, and I'll show you actually what that ends up looking like in a second. But I also go in here and then have business mentorship lessons. I added this today actually after listening to an amazing video from Layla Hermosi and wanting to make sure that that is a thinking framework that gets pulled into the conversations I have whenever I'm having an advisor style conversation with AI within this agent, where I want it to be helping me think better about my business. Now, I told you that I would tell you about the founder psychology. So this is what we have here. So we have an evidence log where, for example, I was talking to AI about needing to simplify my business a bit, having a lot of products and feeling like it was a bit bloated. And this showed me that, you know what, it's noticing I have a pattern of overthinking things. And that I initially had told it I need to do this, this, and this. And then as we talked, I pulled back actually and was like, you know what? This part isn't that big of a deal anymore. We can actually wait on that. And so it pulled this out to say that's a bit of overthinking, that you're thinking you have to do all this XYZ, and you're allowing yourself to get in a rut because of it. So it did a really good job of pulling this. And then it was during a conversation I had where we used this 80-20 filter framework. And then you can see here the agent name was Think with AI. Here's something else I have. These are behavior loops. So unlike the evidence log where it's just starting to notice certain things that might come up again in the future, but it hasn't decided if they're official yet, these behavior loops are things that AI is noticing where it's not a trait that I have. It's not something that I always do, but it's a behavior loop that I'm falling into in this current stage of my business. So for example, overthinking the grind. So feeling pressure to focus on high leverage work, general stress about having too much to do. So this is really helpful for me because I can see this now and be like, okay, very good point, AI. I am overthinking that. And what I have here as well is the ability for it to say if it's active or not active. So the instructions inside this advisor agent are saying, hey, if this hasn't happened and you haven't recorded it in 30 days, you're going to swap to inactive. And it's something I've essentially been able to get over by one, noticing it, and then being reminded of it and making sure that I don't keep falling into that. And then we have down here the traits inventory. So based on a conversation that I've been having with Notion AI, it's noticed that I have a lot of clarity under ambiguity. I think as a founder, we all know what that feels like. I'm action biased. I'm using community as a retention engine here. I have a long-term vision. I really want to build this movement around thinking with AI and having it as this thought partner alongside you all the time. I am a systems thinker. This is something people tell me all the time, which is so funny that AI pulled it out so quickly. And then revenue conscious, which is, yeah, exactly. I'm a founder and I'm always focused on making sure we're being revenue conscious of things. So this is interesting because it's adding in why it thinks that. So I can even go in and click this to see, oh, what was the reason that made AI be like, she is revenue conscious, she is long term vision thinking. So that is how I have my, let me get us back here, my advisor agent set up within my macro Think with AI agent. And as time goes on, I'm going to be adding more agents here as well that I'll be able to just plug and play as needed. And as a reminder, we'll always be looking for those founder psychology moments where it can tell me more about myself than I am able to realize because of my assumptions and cognitive biases. So I want to build out I want to build out a productivity agent, a marketing agent, a sales agent. And the future with these Notion agents, as Notion has said, is that you will be able to just have dozens of them. So while these might start as larger or like larger project agents, like marketing as a whole department, eventually what I'll start to do is probably build these out to be hyper specific to a certain task. So when that task is done, it is done correctly 100% of the time. So for example, I could have a LinkedIn hook writing agent that then feeds into a LinkedIn content writing agent that then feeds into a bigger marketing system agent, for example. This is something to play around with and be able to really test out as these agents, one, start to just get better at what they do, and then also us being able to understand what is the best setup for these. Do they like a lot of context? Do they like a little bit of context? So that's what I'll be playing around with for the next few weeks. And one really interesting note that I want to bring up here as well is that you can go in and decide if you want the Notion to decide which model to use, or you can use Claude, or you can use GPT-5. So for me, anytime I'm thinking or writing with AI, I'm going to use Claude, which makes it really exciting that we can be able to use multiple different LLMs inside of one platform. And then the other thing I find extremely exciting is that you can decide if you want to have web search on or off for a certain question or conversation. So that means if you have web search off, it is just looking through your context, everything inside of your Notion account. And that can be extremely helpful in certain situations. And then it's extremely helpful in other situations to have this turned on and for it to be looking through your context and the web. So that's how I set up my Think with AI agent, focused on helping me be the best possible founder that I can be while supporting me and helping me get work done with AI. If you want to check out my agent, there's a link in the description below to check out the details.